voices on the record, where do they come from? I mean, obviously there's you, but
Well,
then there's a bunch of other voices there.
Well, I sing one song on the record called Mistake, and the other vocalists are just friends of mine. I don't really like working with famous people, you know, and I've worked with a lot of celebrities over the years. I mean, I'd much rather just make records with my friends. And because it seems like if I get a record by an electronic musician and all the guest vocalists are famous, I guess I assume that he or she has chosen the guest vocalists for their marketing value. And I'd rather just focus on the music and not worry about, I don't know, the marketing value of having celebrities on the record. Because in the past, I have worked with celebrities, and it's been okay. But it's so much more fun and satisfying to work with your friends. And also, you know, if I put out a record, I'd much rather somehow help the career of a friend of mine than some random celebrity who I've never even met.
Are there any samples, vocal samples on there?
There's one song that has a vocal sample called Study War. And then another song called The Seated Night that has a choir sample. But I think those are the only two songs that have samples on them.
One thing, listening to this record, it's I can see, you know, how you could, if you wanted to, how you could get into a very tasty career as a motion picture composer. Because there's one song on there that just reminds me something grand, like the theme from Exodus.
Well, I mean, I've done music for films over the years, but maybe it's the product of being an only child and living alone and working alone, but film composing, you have to involve other people in the creative process, you know, directors, music supervisors, producers, and I just don't really like doing that. Because a lot of times, I mean, I appreciate other people's input when they're responding from a creative perspective, but a lot of times, especially when you get to like the end of the production on a film, they're not so much thinking about the creative aspect of it, they're thinking about the marketability. And one of the greatest luxuries I have is to have my criteria for evaluating my work be fairly pure. You know, I think about how the music affects me and how it might affect someone else, but I don't think about the marketability. And I love not having to concern myself with that.
So if one of your songs ends up in a TV show or in a movie, great. It's serendipitous. It was meant to happen. For the first time, I think, in a while, you're touring with a full band with a string section?
Well, I've toured a lot in Europe over the last 10 years. I just haven't toured that much in North America. I mean, I kind of avoided the States for a while just because under, you know, the Bush administration and the Republicans, the States was just a really depressing place to be. And also the last album I put out was a dance record, so I did a lot of DJing around that. So this, I guess, is the first time I've toured North America with a live band in about 5 years. And yeah, there's a string section and two vocalists and a drummer and a bass player and a keyboardist and me playing guitar, keyboard, percussion, and vocals.
And what material are you drawing from for this?
It's about 40% songs from the new record, Wait For Me, and 60% older material. Because when I put something on stage, I try to think as if I was in the audience. And, you know, if I go to see a band, I want to hear the greatest hits. And if I was to only go out and only play new music from the new record, I imagine anyone who hasn't heard the new record would be a little bit nonplussed. So I try, without compromising, I try to be as populist as possible when it comes to the live show.
Are you going to do 1,000?
I don't think we'll be doing 1,000. Not this time, yeah.